Hey there, actors and acting fans. Welcome back to another edition of the Offstage Acting Podcast. All right. I want to introduce you to a great friend of mine, an actor's actor, as I like to call him. He's been in the game for get your head around this, 50 years. A wealth of knowledge, experience, and a great attitude, and a lot of advice and tips for anyone who's interested in getting into the acting game. I love this guy. He was my go-to guy when I was coming up, and I hope you'll get something out of it as well. I'm sure you will. Without further ado, I'm rambling on, so why don't I just let him tell you what he knows. His name's Nigel Barber, and here he is.
One more time.
Boom! Okay, there it is. Welcome back, everybody.
Hello.
Episode 3, the Offstage Acting Podcast, bringing you everything acting with me, Todd Kramer, and my sidekick, my man about town, Jay Reum.
Yes.
And I said it correctly.
Well done.
I did say it
Well
correctly
pronounced.
this time. Thank you. I've
Yes.
learned, you know what? I've learned something about your name, but we'll talk about it after everything else. I know.
Drama. Oh, I'm excited to hear
It's,
what you've learned.
Because those of you who didn't hear last week's podcast, we had a big debate about Jay's name. And
Yes, we had a debate where Todd told me how to correctly pronounce my last name. Yes.
Yeah, and turns out,
Uh-huh.
well, all right, we'll save it for later because we got a few other things going on today that may be more important than your
Than me? Than my name?
than you and your, yeah. I know. It's
Okay.
hard
Surprising.
to fathom.
Indeed.
But I do want to know, how was your move? You've all moved in? Settled?
I'm never settled, Todd. Never settled. I mean, I'm comparatively, yes, I'm
Here
settled,
we
but
go.
every day
This is what I
I
get for
will not
asking
be settled.
questions. I shouldn't ask any questions.
That's right.
It's
What about you? What about you, Todd? Huh? How about you,
simple-
Hot Toddy?
I'm
How
good.
Are you?
I'm
How's
okay.
Life?
Life is good. There's no castings coming through. I'm working on some audiobooks. Setting up the studio. It's never ending. Ask me how my week was.
Okay. Yeah.
Ask
how
me
was
how
your
my
week?
I'm so glad you asked. I mean,
Yeah.
it turns out, you know what? It actually turns out that producing a podcast is really difficult. It's not easy. I know. It's like
I
have
I
spent.
can
Can I
only
just tell you? Can I just tell you?
tell me.
I spent like, I don't know, I'm not, with no exaggeration, I must have spent 20 to 30 hours with our boy Andrew, who's
Oh my God.
hiding out there in the shadows right now. He's with us still. He has been
Shout out to
he's been so patient and so diligent, and it's been so difficult getting the tech down just to have a simple podcast. Because I wanted to do something special for the folks and not just like the regular kind of crap, that everybody else does. Not to put anybody else's podcast down.
I gotta say, Hot Toddy.
Yeah. You don't have to.
Your background, the red, blue, and yellow,
Yeah.
looks exceptional. I think you added the yellow. I don't think it was there last time, but it
I
just looks
literally-
great. I love
Yeah.
primary colors. Love it.
Oh, yeah. Well,
into
I did it for the people. I'm a
Good.
people pleaser.
Not for you.
No, God, no.
You're
I
a
didn't eat.
selfless
I didn't eat
man.
for a week working on my studio. I got a new cable, the Magani. My guy told me get the Magani. It's a quad cable. So for all you audiophiles out there, get yourself the quad Magani. That's a Japanese cable. I got a new audio interface. That's the SSL 2 Plus. Okay. So upgrading
How
the
has it been
studio.
working?
Oh my God, how do I sound? Well, you tell me.
You
How's
always sound
the,
great,
The
Todd.
richness of the, now I sound great. But
timbre
now
of your voice.
I sound perfect. Is it
You sound
timbre or I always say timber because it's spelled timber.
Pretty sure it's pronounced timbre.
Timbre. I think you're right. Timbre.
Yeah.
I dated a girl
Timbre.
named
I'm
Timbre
quite certain.
in college.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, she was.
Was it also spelled Timb?
Yeah, she was a
ER?
big girl. Timber.
No way. Her name was Tam.
No, I'm
Todd,
joking.
that's
Come on,
terrible.
Come on.
But her name was actually Timbre.
No,
Okay,
it's a joke. I make jokes. You might have to. There's something you need to know about me, Jay.
I believe you.
That
I believed you,
I
Todd.
make jokes. I didn't date any girls in college. They wouldn't touch me.
Oh,
So
no, I don't believe that.
speaking of
Okay.
amazing voices,
Mm-hmm.
I've got a special surprise for you and all the listeners today.
Okay.
And it comes in the form of a package of a man.
Oh.
So great. So now you know how, like, how you look up to me,
Yeah, we can say that.
you sort of revere me, and you respect my authority
Your
and
words.
my wisdom and my word. Yeah, you know how that works.
Quite.
So this guy is to me what I am to you. Respected, admired, revered, because essentially,
Wow.
I got 20 years experience on you. This gentleman, he's got 20 years experience on me.
Oh my gosh.
Which is a lot of experience. And he's even got some of that in acting. Huh?
Okay, well, okay,
Right?
you're really selling
joke?
him. Can we? When is he gonna come? This is not British Nigel, right?
It's not British Nigel, but he's got an interesting story. Now this is I'm playing this song. I love this song. You know this band? Nigel will know this band probably because it comes from his era. 70s. You ever heard this band? We're only making plans for Nigel.
No, I have not heard this song.
We only want it good for him. We only want what's best for him. This is what we've been doing all week. We've been making plans. Plans for Nigel. Because if Nigel's happy, Nigel just needs a helping hand.
Okay.
You don't know this band? XTC.
XTC.
Happy.
No, I don't know this song, but I'm enjoying you singing it.
Must be happy in his world.
We'll have to ask Nigel.
It's a beautiful song. I love that. That's XTC, and it's spelled XTC. So in case you haven't guessed, our friend's name is Nigel Barber. And should we bring him in? Shall we introduce him? Let him tell you. Why am I telling you about him?
Yeah.
He can tell both
bring
of
this
us
man
about
on.
him. All right, I'm going to give him some intro music. Boom, here we go. Here he comes, Nigel Barber. Look at that. Welcome to the show, Nigel.
Hi.
Do you know that song? We don't hear you. Is he muted? He's talking. I got to unmute him. There he is.
I'm on air. There we go. Howdy.
Howdy, Nigel.
Hello.
I'm a little disappointed we even got away from your banter because I think that's a show in itself. I think that's great.
We're not disappointed.
God,
We're exhausted of our own banter. But if you want more banter, listen to episode 1 and 2 where we don't have guests. But we're grateful
Nigel,
to have you.
The last episode, yes.
Thank you.
Really.
You don't need to tell him about the
Pleasure.
last
Well,
episode.
thank you
What do
very
care?
much.
Well, yeah,
So-
fine.
Nigel Barber,
Todd.
man of
Kramer.
mystery, intrigue. Nigel and I met, was it 10, 12, 15 years
Okay.
ago?
Yeah, 10
10.
actually.
10 years ago in acting class. It was a friend of
Nathan
ours.
Osgood.
Nathan
in
Osgood
London, yeah.
in London had a little acting class, and Nigel and I were hanging out with him and doing the thing that actors
great.
do. It was great. It was a good class,
Great.
wasn't it?
It was great. What a format he had. He gave us, a two-hander,
Yep.
a 3-page scene, cold, go learn it. We had 20 minutes. We had come back in. We had to put it on for him. He gave us notes,
Yeah.
and then we get to rework it again. And it was every Thursday, and it was the best thing because I wasn't working when I first started back in the business in London, and I just needed to go to the gym. And this was a gym, and it helped me so much.
Yeah, me too. It was an actor's
Helped me so
workout.
much. You
And
got it. You
by the
it
way,
was.
I'm going to plug myself real quick. Well, that sounds weird. I'm going to give myself a plug. No, that doesn't help.
don't you have an actor's workshop, Todd?
I'm going to
that
start
you
doing.
can talk
Yeah,
to us
there it
about?
is. Thank you, Nige. I'm gonna start implementing that. I'm gonna bring that back. My plan is to bring that back into London. So an actor's work with a drop-in session and stuff like that. So keep an eye out. Go to www.offstageacting.com for more information if you're in the London area and want to get into classes. But because I did love it, and I think it's a great medium and forum for actors.
It's our only industry. We can't practice by ourselves, so to speak. You know, we can sit in a room and learn a monologue, but to get in front of people and be under pressure, which our industry does, it's just one of those things to do your push-ups and stretch and
be ready for
that and also an improv class, which I used to go to every week as well, and it helped me so much just get all that stiffness away, you know, and it was wonderful.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Do you
I have
go
a good
to one now?
I do not now because I've relocated a little bit further northwest of London, and it's difficult for me. But
Northwest.
I still get
Where
my
are
work
you?
in.
Do you mind telling?
I'm in Merseyside,
Oh, are you?
northwest of Liverpool.
Yeah.
Ooh.
You're partnered up, as I recall.
I love Liverpool.
I am partnered up with a lady from Scotland.
Okay.
Oh,
So our household is a very strange place to listen to. It's
So tell us about your background now. This is the kind of deal of the show is we want all the aspiring and young and up and coming actors and things to kind of get the gist of what it's like to have a career and a life that's built around acting, which you certainly have, as far as I remember your story. I know you started as a teenager. You were born in Hamburg.
in Hamburg, Germany.
He's
The
a
man
Hamburger.
that raised me, not my biological father, who I never met, but the man that raised me and the husband of my mother. They were both in the RAF.
Right.
One was a flight engineer and the other was a nurse. And
is that a military thing?
Royal Air Force.
Royal Air Force. And so they were military, and they stayed in Hamburg after I was born in 1950, so you can do the math. And then, so I was born there, and then they immigrated to... Take off
Get your calculator.
Take off your shoes.
I don't need it.
It was post-war, so you literally are a baby boomer.
Yeah, 1950, man.
Yeah.
The best time in the world.
Yeah.
We immigrated to Montreal. I lived in Montreal until I was about 9, and then my mother and her husband separated, and she got custody of me in Southern California, baby.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So, are you British?
I have a British passport now.
I know now you do, but were you born? So you're born to British citizens.
I was born to British, but I didn't know. I thought I was Canadian, and then when I
with
decided
an English mother, your mother's English. No,
Irish.
Irish. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Irish mother.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those things. And I went to renew my Canadian passport and told that I wasn't Canadian. You have to go to the British Embassy in LA.
Wow.
So I went to the British Embassy and I looked at my birth certificate and it said born in a military hospital in Germany.
Wow.
So I said, give me that one. Give me one of those passports. And so I had one of those.
That's pretty cool. And that's kind of what took you to LA, was it?
My mother dragged me to L.A. No, I think I spent several years being introduced to uncles that I never had.
Right,
you know, and it's one of those things.
I had one of those mothers.
But my dysfunctional childhood sort of created what I am today, so I'm okay with that.
And you and I also have something else in common. Then is that we're SoCal.
Southern California.
You grew up. Well, your later years you spent in La Jolla. Were you down?
Yeah, La Jolla, San Diego County, La Jolla, and then later on moved up to the beach cities in Hermosa Beach, Redondo Beach.
Mm-hmm. I'm from Oceanside.
Lived from Point Dume, so you know where that is. Then I lived in Point Dume for a while, above the Colony, Malibu Colony near Pepperdine. Yeah, lived there for a while, worked there for a while. The first professional job I ever had was in 1964 at the La Jolla Playhouse, which at one time had interesting reputation.
It still does. Well, it did when I was growing up as well.
Yeah, it's
a good place.
It was okay. So I did Frédéric Durand-Mans, the physicist there, and when I was 14, and it just sort of started the bug, and people paid attention to me, in my day-to-day life. Nobody paid attention to me, including my mom.
Right.
So it was one of those things, you know. They love me.
Yeah.
And so so I did that, and it's sort of the reason I'm so messed up today.
The bug bit you. Oh, you're not messed up. I think it was just fine. You were messed up before, but today you're not messed up.
Yeah, not today. Not for this podcast. It's You said that in the brief to me. Don't be messed up today, Nigel.
I said, not today.
Oh, God.
Buddy, please.
Yeah, so I got into acting and started doing commercial work and soap operas and
headed up to L.A.,
sort of,
got yourself an agent.
Yeah, got myself an agent.
What was those
Beverly
days? Now,
Hecht Agency.
walk us through, because here's the deal. I did my stint in the 90s. You did yours in the 60s, 70s. L.A. in the 70s? Yeah. So there's a 20-year gap.
70s, yeah. 70s, 80s.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's an interesting era for actors. So many differences than it is today. But maybe walk us through a little bit of that process, like getting the agent, getting the headshot, which you had to have printed and walk. You had to move around and hand that shit out. And
yeah, and no mobile phones. Remember that?
Yeah.
So you had this little beeper on your hip, and
I had
every
that.
time it beeped, it said call this number. So you called your exchange.
Oh, yes.
So you had basically a switchboard set up that took in hundreds of actors' incoming calls.
Yeah.
And you would call the exchange, and they would say that your agent wants you to call her.
Which
So
was
you
probably
would then
good
go
news,
to
hopefully.
Yeah, you go either that she kicked you out or something.
Other than that, but I mean, it meant a casting or a job offer, maybe.
You would go to a payphone.
Yeah.
And hopefully you had the change.
Yep.
And you would call up, and she would say, Nigel, you've got this audition or that audition, or you've just been booked for this or whatever.
Yeah.
So it was rather interesting. And how I found Beverly Hecht at that time is I was going to another acting workshop in Los Angeles, Culver City, actually, with a very interesting man called Sal Dano. And so it was...
Who was he, a coach?
Robert Hayes. He was a coach.
Yeah.
We had Robert Hayes, Tom Selleck, Catherine Bach, Deborah Winger, and myself in the same class.
Wow. For all you kids out there, those are some huge names.
And we were just doing stuff, and I was sort of dating Catherine at the time, and
Catherine Bach, you were?
Then
she was peace.
Then Deborah Winger said, "Look, why don't you come and talk to my agent?" So I went and talked to her, and she said, I mean, they were classic. They were just like, very sort of aggressive New York kind of thing, but on the West Coast.
Yeah.
And it was a whole different game there. These were mentors. They were managers. They were come over and let's talk.
Yeah, let's see what we can do with you.
Yeah.
What do you want out of your career? And
yeah. Don't be a schmuck, Nigel. You go there and you do that.
Yeah.
And now it's different. Now it's just basically your agent just looks at a breakdown and thinks they could sub you for it. But there's no
submit you. Yeah.
Don't do.
There's no guidance.
Like show up at that party, or don't dress like that, or I think you need a different haircut, or have you thought about going to the gym a little bit more often, or don't be too tan, or that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so in those days, I mean, I'm not talking about dinosaur time, but in those days it was a little bit different. There were no video auditions. There were no Zoom meetings. You went in and you walked in and you sat down with 20 guys, better looking, taller, more handsome than you, standing in there with your sides, with your script, and, trying to do it. Hopefully you could get some money to pay the rent or buy food or, one of those things.
Do you still audition these days? Like, or have you gotten to a point where you don't even have to audition anymore? I know that happens.
I've been offered some really nice roles where I get a phone call from a producer say, Nigel, I've seen your work. We'd like to offer you a role. I did a thing with David Tennant called Mad to Be Normal with David Bamber, David Tennant, Michael Gabon, and that was a feature that I got just off of a phone call. But you still have to audition. Still have to audition, and that's okay. I don't mind doing that because this industry now and this climate, that's your work.
Yeah.
It's not standing in front of the camera. That's sort of like the end result. But your job is to get seen by people. Your job is to have the opportunity. And in our industry now with about 98% unemployment, just getting an opportunity to send a self-tape audition, that's a blessing.
Yeah.
It's not a punishment, and it's an opportunity. So that's really, really important.
can we take a little break here? Because what I forgot to do earlier was I have a little surprise. I wanted to play your show reel.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, for Jay and for everybody.
Like, oh God.
It's a short one. I mean, give us 3 minutes. Maybe we won't go the whole way through, but there's a lot of great stuff.
2 minutes. 2 minutes 16.
This one's 3:37. I got an older one, maybe.
Oh no, you probably got the
older one.
The one with my dogs in it.
Yeah, there's a lot of you picking your toes. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
Here we go.
Dogs.
Every day we don't launch, we lose money.
You know what? If something happens, this could be really serious, Declan, okay?
This isn't your little science project. Maybe it was your technology, but that's been bought and paid for by the people that I represent. You understand?
Yes, I understand. And everyone wants it done right, yes?
They want it done now, and they want it done right.
So the shuttering of the IMF was all part of an elaborate scheme to expose the so-called syndicate.
That is correct, sir.
Which is why you're here today, asking for the IMF to be reinstated.
That is correct, sir.
I'm not sure the committee approves of your methods, Director Hunley.
Desperate times, desperate measures, Mr. Chairman.
Nobody wants to book you.
What are you talking about?
Nobody listens to swing anymore.
Well, if you booked me more, they would listen to swing more.
Joey, face it. You've lost it. You're no good.
So where did you two meet?
I was sitting at the corner table and I heard this laugh. She had the loudest laugh ever. I proposed once. It didn't happen.
What do I have to do so that you fine gentlemen get out of here?
I want Indian passport.
And you?
American UK. देखो चाहिए.
Yorker was my first command, Captain. What's the bearing of the target?
Bearing 079er, sir.
Seattle. Starbucks, Space Needle, hipsters, Microsoft, Nirvana. We'll make our stand in Seattle.
Decision to go to war? That power lies with the president. That buck stops right there. But who's keeping the president safe back home? Secret Service. They have their own secrets.
I like you, Danny. I like you a lot. You've been working for me, 6 years now?
Oh, 7 in May, sir.
Where did you go to school, Daniel?
Fernhill School in Hampshire, sir.
They teach you how to spell at Fernhill School, Hampshire?
Yes, they taught me to spell.
Well, enlighten me. Spell story.
Storey.
Well, congratulations. Get the f*** out of here.
Unbelievable. It's always been the same. A dark time for young girls. Always some reason for them to be getting dragged into places they shouldn't be. Murder, rape, drugs, prostitution. The list goes on. Then in a man's world, women always take second place. But a dame should know better. If you're a good little girl, you wouldn't be going out at night alone.
Wow. Now that's a show reel. What do you think there, Jay?
That was
well done. I enjoyed that.
That's every genre covered, by the way, folks. If you want to do a lesson in what a show reel should look like, it's a smidge long, probably, but it moves, and that's a great show reel. Great show reel. Bravo.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm gonna give that
a little embarrassing watching it.
Oh yeah, I saw you kind of smirking and smiling. That's the audience
he
reaction to your show reel. I've got all kinds of little goodies here.
Oh my God.
I should have played that.
You did the applause reaction. You deserve it. Wow.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, there it is. Nigel Barber, a legend.
You've done so much stuff.
You've done a ton, right?
Oh my
well,
gosh.
that's 50 years of work, man. And we didn't even see the stuff he did when he was younger, obviously. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, it's okay. You know what? You never ask an actor what he thinks of himself because it's filtered through so many years. You know.
Ugh. Preach.
Yeah. So many years of.
That's all right. We beep you anyway. You can say whatever.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, that's the thing.
I'm trying to be.
I was
good.
thinking about when you were watching it, and I'm thinking, well, it's interesting to watch because we're seeing it for the first time, and we're just being entertained. But you, as the actor, are thinking about all the time, all the hours on the set, and what it took to get there, and how either great or awful the experience was, and how it could have been better, but the director or somebody wasn't helpful or whatever. Or how much you just hated your hair or the costume in that, and you're just like, ugh,
yeah,
not this again.
I've sort of I've outgrown that now. I don't.
Good.
I don't even look. I don't even look anymore. If the director says,
right,
moving on, then I'm okay with
that. And you're okay with
know?
it. It only takes 50 years in the business to get that kind of confidence, folks.
Yeah, but it's also I sort of cross genre as well. I started in musical theater. I do national tours now in the UK. Just finished one, a really great one.
What was that?
And so to be able to, I did The Verdict, which was a Barry Reed novel that he wrote in the 80s that David Mamet did a screenplay for Sidney Lumet.
It's a great movie.
Paul Newman.
Yeah. Paul
Newman, James Mason, which was a role that I played in the Sage version. Milo O'Shea with his eyebrows, he was there. And so doing 7th or a 9-month tour, live theater, Todd,
Yeah.
I don't know Jay's background, but
Jay's done a fair bit too, yeah.
Yeah, something about live, you've got this, because we all know that film and television are directors' medias. They're we start at the end, we go to the beginning, we turn around, we do inserts, a lot of
pretty
pictures,
different
pickups and stuff like that. And with stage, you start at the beginning, you go to the middle, and you finish. And you take this audience on this
journey.
2-hour journey that they're allowed to get out of themselves. And that's what I love so much about. I'm just a storyteller, and I use somebody else's words to try and make something real out of a complete fantasy. I mean, it's not real. None of this is real.
Right.
But to have that ability or strive for the ability to be able to be honest and I don't know, what did Michael Gambon always said? No acting here, no acting here. And it was like, that I don't want to see you acting. I want to see this person. I want to feel what he's going through. I want to feel like maybe I shouldn't be watching you. It's so intimate and it's great. And at my age and still being able to do it, I'll tell you, I'm the luckiest guy in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and you've done great with your career. I always defer and refer to you when I kind of discuss to others about my, the longevity of a career. And I want to talk a few steps there because
it wasn't continuous, Todd.
No, I know
there were
that.
Times when
you took your break.
I did. When I moved from Los Angeles, it was the end of 1989. I had done the first year of Baywatch with David and was a utility lifeguard. So I worked every single day, no credit, uncredited.
Right. Just
worked
running
every
around in the
single
background,
day.
right?
I was, more than an essay. I mean, more than a featured artist. It was I was a
one
utility,
of the guys,
so I drove the Jeeps, looked through
Jumped in
binoculars,
the water.
jumped in the water, out on the paddleboard.
Right.
But every day, and that they were shooting at Malibu Pier.
Yeah.
All around where the famous Alice's restaurant and all of that. And I was just living up the coast on Point Doom, just above the colony, just above Malibu Colony. And so it was like just getting on my bicycle and riding into work every day. And it was just, it was brilliant. But I became very disillusioned. I was the first year. Yeah. That was before Pam and Paula came on board.
Right, okay.
Because David was having a problem trying to sell it.
Right.
And he almost didn't get through. And then he decided, well, let's
TNA.
change the visual. Yeah, exactly.
Change the visual.
And so they did, and it became what
Massive
it was.
hit.
You know?
Yeah.
And
Global hit.
I became so disillusioned in the industry there. I was looking for a place for craft. I was looking for a place where it wasn't about, you know, how big your biceps were, or
Right.
you know, whether you had
How much cleavage
you know, a
you had.
facelift
Yeah.
or whatever. You know, this was about craft. And so I was doing a gig in Alaska.
Okay.
And met a young lady and fell in love, and she was British. And so after a couple of months of courtship and back and forth and different things, and decided I'm moving to England. And so I did. And that was rather interesting.
Was that in the 90s?
Really allowed. Yeah, that was in 91, 92.
Yeah, okay.
And it was great. And then ended up leaving and moving to Portugal, and then moving to Asia, and lived in Singapore and China and different places, and
Wow.
sort of got out of the game.
Yeah, you kind of
because,
became a dad, and
yeah, wanted a paycheck.
Yeah.
Every week.
So what other jobs
kind of
have
things
you
were
done?
you doing?
Yeah. Thanks, Jay.
Yeah, gosh.
How are you supporting
not
yourself in
formative
LA?
jobs.
Let's start with LA in that period. What were you?
With LA? It was about 75% acting, but I always had a waiter job.
Waiting tables.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And I was fortunate enough because of my package in those days, my
looks,
my face,
Yeah.
looks.
Yeah.
They wanted me front of house a lot, so I started working for
Also good tips.
Wolfgang. Lots of good tips. Working for Wolfgang Puck and Patrick Terrell at Ma Maison in Beverly Hills.
Famous restaurant.
And they
famous
allowed
chef.
me.
Wolfgang Puck is sort of the
Wolfgang.
the Oliver.
Yeah, he's sort of. Yeah,
of our
yeah,
time.
but German.
Yeah.
And
He was the first famous
a knife
chef.
thrower.
Wolfgang Puck.
He was,
He was first
yeah.
famous celebrity
first
chef.
sort of television celebrity. Yeah.
chef, yes.
And he and they allowed me to take time off whenever I wanted.
Very flexible.
So I
good.
could.
Wow.
So I could go and do an audition and then come back. And then when I booked stuff, they said, no, that's fine. So it was really gave me that wonderful, besides making very, very good money, because, you know, if you wait tables in a good restaurant in L.A., you make a living doing it. And so it was one of those things.
Especially
So
back in
it
those
was
days, yeah.
Nice.
Then when I moved away and I started doing things, I lived in Shanghai, but I most of my base work was done in Singapore. I lived there for 5 years.
Did you?
And
Okay.
when I
didn't know that.
After the military, I went back to Montreal. And
But let me get the timeline straight. So
okay,
after
well,
LA, did you do so? Whilst in LA, you went to Alaska, did a gig. Was that a stage?
No, I was hired as the headliner on a cruise ship.
Okay, cool. Headlining what? What were you doing? Stand up?
I had my own show. It was
Yeah.
it was a big band, and so I did a lot of song stylings.
Yeah. Okay. A little,
You know,
like crooning.
and,
Were you crooning and a little soft
I was
shoe,
crooning.
little soft shoe and crooning?
No, none of that. Not so pathetic, but
but close.
But no, it's some really nice standards, and it was
Frank Sinatra, Dean
it was
Martin,
good.
that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Tony Bennett, you know,
okay.
classic stuff.
Yeah. All right.
And I loved it. And
your ex-wife, she or the woman you married.
my ex-wife.
She's your ex-wife
Yeah,
now.
at that time. Yeah.
She was also working cruise ship then.
She was in charge of the big beauty salon. The Alders had the contract with Holland American Line, and so and it was lucky for me because I was the only straight entertainer on board.
Right.
So
pick of the litter.
You know,
whatever
of that side of the litter.
Of that side of the litter, yeah. They were.
Yeah.
All the women were after you.
So,
They're like, is he straight?
Well,
He
not
is.
all of them. The ones with the Zimmer frames took their time, but anyway, no, it was really good. But before then though, so I went.
What was the military?
Back to military was American military. I was in Vietnam,
right?
And it was I had I don't know. I was getting my draft notice, and I didn't want to be drafted into just something, so I decided to go, and so I joined the Army. I had a Canadian passport at that time, but I was able to enlist because I had a permanent resident. I'm a permanent resident in the United States.
Yeah.
And they considered that particular situation a police action rather than a war.
Right. You didn't decide.
And so
you didn't
they were able to
bugger off to Canada. You could have just easily.
No, and I had a lot of contacts there.
Yeah,
you know,
you had the passport.
I lived
too.
in West Van, lived in Burnaby, in Vancouver area, lived in Victoria, Vancouver Island. So I had a lot of contacts, and also Montreal.
Montreal,
so,
yeah, of course.
But I've never run away from anything, so I decided that.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, so I did that, and so when I finished after my experience there, I decided I need to go to uni. I need to go to college. Because there were a lot of guys in charge of my life that, I mean, just ridiculous. Some really, really,
I'm sure,
people that shouldn't be in charge of your life,
of anybody's life,
and
barely do their
of anybody's life.
How old were you then?
And so
What's
I
the
went.
Age we're looking at
22. 20. I went in when I was 18, so 21, something like that.
2021. Okay.
So I went to Montreal and went into McGill University and picked up a couple of pieces of paper there, business and
expensive
things
pieces
like
of
that,
paper,
which
probably.
I didn't use until I was much older.
Right.
Until I was in my 40s.
Right.
And
that was Singapore then when you.
Yeah, it was I started getting into linked-based equities, working for World Bank, doing all sorts of things like that. Yeah, well.
Huh? Oh.
It
paid the bills.
It was a great,
and it helped you raise. Yeah.
Paid the bills.
Paid the bills. Helped
paid
you raise
the bills.
Family.
And so I did that, and then got back into, then was sort of out of acting, did some little bits and pieces. I was built a place in Portugal, in southern Portugal, and
I
ended
remember
up befriending Clive Dunn.
Who's that?
And we started playing around. Clive Dunn, famous British comedian from years ago, did Dad's Army, was famous for that, playing the old guy in Dad's Army.
I should know that, yeah.
And his wife, Priscilla Morgan, used to work at the Royal Shakespeare Company with Lawton and all the old Redgraves and stuff.
Yeah. And they were hanging out. He was hanging out in Portugal?
Yeah, they retired to Portugal.
Yeah, okay.
Clive and his
so
wife.
Like neighbor.
So
he was just a neighbor?
He was a neighbor. And I got a phone call one evening saying, I understand that you're an actor and I have a small group and one of our leads has just had to go away and we're doing an Acheborn play and you have 3 weeks before we open. And I said, I'll be happy to. And it sort of started me back because I really sort of suppressed it for a long time.
Yeah. Wow.
And it
dragged you back
started.
It's funny how it does that, isn't it?
Literally screaming and kicking, but it dragged me back in.
But acting will always grab you from some angle again, as I have found. No matter, you can run, you can hide, but it's always going to find you. I tried. I ran away and hid in Prague, thinking I'm not going to be an actor anymore. I'm going to be a writer, and I'm going to do this and that. And somebody got me into a play, and they found out I was in it. And the next thing I know, casting director, boom, 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 boom. And I was back in and thinking, I'm coming to Eastern Europe to hang out. I'm going to just be, something else. And no, didn't happen.
A great place to hang. A great place.
It was
to
a great place to
but
hang.
I think in retrospect, looking back, I don't think I was ready in my youth for it.
Mm-hmm.
I think I needed some life.
Yeah.
And how can you represent something if you've really never
lived a life,
experienced it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so now in my twilight years, it's easy because I don't really, sort of I'm a little bit more disconnected from it. It's not a value judgment on my soul.
Right.
It's a business.
A craft and an art,
and
it's your
maybe
art.
You going back, but in a business.
Right.
And going back to what you said earlier about perhaps advice to younger aspiring talent out there.
Yeah.
Understand that it is a business. You're not being hired because they like you.
Right.
You're not being hired because you look good. You're being hired because they feel you can represent that character to add to the entire palette of colors that they're bringing together for them to make money off of their production, whether it's a stage, a piece, or television, or a feature. And once you get that down, then the rejection, I don't even hold my breath anymore. It used to be like every 5 seconds I looked at my phone to see if I got a message about an audition that I took, you know. And now I do my self-tape and then delete the email communication from my agent, so that if I get a call back, or then if I get booked, something just happened just now that I'll be filming a great new feature in I think I shoot week in May. And that was a great surprise because I wasn't like looking at it. I went on and just lived my life, going out in the garden, or, you know, whatever I'm doing, voiceover work in the studio here, or whatever. And I think that's really important, but to look at it, it's business. So be on time, you know, be prepared. Some of the concepts now about actors saying, I don't want to look at the script, I'm going to wing it when I get in there. I'm different school. You know, I'm like, I'm so prepared, I don't even have to think about it.
So for Jay, Nigel was one of these guys that I always turned to for advice back in the day, particularly, especially coming here to a new market. I always call it the market of London. I did LA, I did Europe, and now I'm doing Britain, England, London, which is a whole market. And I didn't have any familiarity with it. Nigel did, and he had more experience and things. So we had many conversations, didn't we, about you know, what's expected here, how does it work?
We had the same agents for a time.
That's right.
Too,
we had the same agent for a
while. We auditioned against each other for one commercial that I remember that you got.
That's right. That's right. Probably because I was a little more young. And I took a role from you that you couldn't do on a short film.
Oh, what was that one?
With the Western thing.
Yeah. Oh, the Western one. Yeah.
I was gonna play a lower role, and you were gonna play the lead, and then you got booked on something. So they bumped me up, and I took the lead, and that worked out all right for me, actually.
And that was great. It was a great. I've seen it. It was a great piece.
It was a good piece. Yeah.
So you never know. So we're dealing with luck. I've been cast in commercials where afterwards, speaking with the director, he said, "Let you know, Nigel, I had already cast your role."
Right.
But you came in, and we let you come into the audition room because we needed to partner up with people that we were looking for still in another character. And you walked in and you changed our minds.
Yeah. Well, this is what is synonymous with Nigel Barber to me is the professionalism. Honestly, though, you have a very professional approach. I can tell by your studio. Look at Jay's little makeshift setup compared to yours. You see, there's the difference. But
but wait a second. My very first professional voiceover job was in my cupboard.
Yeah.
Under duvets with an iPad
I was telling Jay,
and a condenser USB mic plugged in.
I was telling Jay
and I mixed it through GarageBand,
right.
You know?
Yeah.
And I made I can't believe I got paid for this. And then it just started. And this house that we have here, it's 1827. It's an old place and has lots of bathrooms in it. And I decided that I didn't need 3.
Right.
And so I turned one of them into this great little
space.
Jay's
got a face on it. And he's like, meh. Jay, you're doing fine.
There's nothing wrong with the duvet, Jay. A lot of people I know started with duvets.
What did I just tell you in on our last episode? I said you get in a closet with a duvet over your head and you suffocate yourself. You can't
great.
Breathe. It
I'm
works.
just gonna upgrade. I'm just gonna spend the next month upgrading it so that now I no longer. I'll just be like, great. Now I have a professional studio now.
It's all upgrade. Always
or do what Todd does. Just add some Christmas lights.
Just put Christmas lights. And people think, oh my God, that looks really professional.
Wow, you must be good, man.
You must be good. You have Christmas lights.
Well, it was just recently Christmas, so I've still got the lights.
It's very apropos. I think you have to take your stuff down by the 8th of January, though. I think that's
is that the cutoff?
Is that the word? It's the 8th.
It's the 8th or something around there. There's a date through some local old fable or something that you can leave them up all year, Todd. You enjoy it.
They're good.
You're allowed.
Once a year, they're good for a month. So what's the point in bringing him down? So let's talk, Nigel. You've worked with a lot of great names, big names in the industry. You've had it. That's
very lucky.
Right. It's a blessing, right? It's an opportunity.
Yeah.
Give us a couple maybe that stick out, like experiences that you just thought, wow, this is, what a great acting experience or opportunity.
All of them are. Todd, I can't, I'll give you some specifics, but
no, but I hear you.
Anytime you have an opportunity.
Yeah.
I'm a great one I think maybe we've had this conversation, when we first met 10, 11 years ago, whenever it was. Always say yes.
Yeah.
I read a lot of these acting sort of sites on Facebook or whatever, and 99% of the people are complaining about the industry. I'm not going to work for nothing.
Right.
So when I came here, came back into the industry, that was November 2011.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
I decided move from Portugal, leave Portugal, move to London, and just start my thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I had no show reel that related. I had a lot of stuff, but it was West Coast cheese.
Right.
It was little appearances on soap operas and commercials and a couple of bits and pieces here and there, and lots of me running in the sand from
flexing your muscles in front of
Baywatch. So a 12-pack, one of those things, and
I have a 12-pack.
Coming into this new environment,
of course, late. Okay, go ahead.
It's different here. I mean, when I first came to London to work, everybody's headshots were black and white.
Right. Still.
And that went on for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And everybody looked like they just got out of prison.
Right.
And I was like, selling cheese, commercial shots, roller skates, and kids, and hamburgers, and hard hats, and and all of that
Mr.
stuff.
America.
And very American. And so walking into agencies,
serious actors.
So my story, my story about agencies is, so I was living in Portugal, miserable, and my son said, "Go back into business." I said, "I'm too old." I said, "No, go back into the business." And he started quoting me on stuff. And when your son starts quoting you, you gotta, he said, "Dad, the only thing you told me is walk your talk and do no harm. Well, right now you're not walking your talk and you're harming yourself. So go back." I said, I can't, I got to do other stuff. So I ended up sending 45 emails to agencies in London. I didn't know how I was vetting them. I just went through Professional Management Association or something like that and looked at agencies, saw them, went to see their talent, looking for Nigel. And the ones that I didn't find a Nigel, then I emailed them and said, "I'm coming over from Portugal on a very quick visit. I'd love to set up an appointment with you. I'm looking for representation. And this is what I've done. And I think I could add something to your agency." So out of the 45 emails, I get 15 appointments.
Wow.
Now it's unheard of today, but I was just one of those things. Maybe it was the American thing. They started to see a lot more American stuff on TV, little visitations, Robert Vaughn and Coronation Street, for example. And
productions were coming
like
here to shoot, and they needed authentic American accents because it's cheaper, and they needed authentic. And
10 cents on a dime, and they could, and England, London especially, they were bringing in, they wanted to give you tax breaks and all sorts of things.
And they're looking for local hire that can do authentic American accents, and the Brits at the time weren't really focusing on that. There was a few that could do, but not many, especially for smaller roles, essentially. And so,
but
Todd,
it's more than just an accent. It's a DNA.
It's an attitude and everything too, of course.
You can tell the difference between an American and a Brit walking down the street without them even saying anything. So there's something about that, and that's why I don't do British accents.
But there was a need.
But
I can do, but they would never hire me. But that's another story. But there was a need at the time. I know. Yeah, they got a country.
So anyway, I sent the emails out, got 15 appointments. saw 15
Nice.
different agencies, and then got 14 offers.
Wow.
So then
pick
my
of the
work
litter.
started.
Wow.
How can you? Yeah, but how do you vet?
do
So
you-
you get in touch with Equity, or you get in touch with some place, and you say, "Can you vet these agents for me?" And they said, "No, and not unless they're in litigation. We have no, you know."
But you need
So I said,
actor
"Oh,
friends,
that's
somebody that knows all these agents.
So I settled on one agency, and they said, "Oh, we only want you now for commercial work." And I said, "I'm happy to come in." So, and then I started doing some other stuff with freelancing, and they said, "Actually, we'd want an exclusive with you, except for voicing." So, and I'm with that same agency now for, going on 12 years.
That was the agency
and
we
it's
both
consistent,
had together.
you know?
Yeah.
That was the agency we both
Yeah.
had together. And they're delightful, delightful people. Just maybe too old school British for me at times.
Yeah.
But they're solid, and I got my money right away
And
and
they're
never had to
serious.
chase it.
Yeah.
And they're very professional, and I feel comfortable with that. So sure, I can go around. You can chase agencies all you want. You know, I didn't get work this month, so I'm going away. Your agency doesn't get you work. You get the work.
Yeah.
They provide maybe an opportunity, or they point you to a door, and they say, "Go there." But it's about yourself and about the hustle and about.
Right.
I mean, even social media. I was doing a film in Sofia in Bulgaria in I think 2015, and I had maybe 127 Facebook followers.
Mm-hmm.
And I was speaking to the director and the producer, and it was the film that you saw at the beginning of my clip with Alexandra Paul from Baywatch and myself in this sort of strange laboratory environment.
Right. Sci-fi.
And they said, "We hire people over other people if they have a higher profile." I said, "What?"
Oh, wow.
I said, "Sure, if you guys are equally talented and you could do the same thing, we want a guy who's got a following of 20 grand, 30,000 people, whatever,
Can advertise our
versus to
film
the
for
guy that keeps posting pictures of his cat and what he had for dinner, you know?"
I
And
have seen that
Wow.
when they've asked on casting sheets and other places for your Instagram, Twitter, Facebook account, and you go, "Oh God," you know, and I know I'm dead in the water at that point because I don't post what they're expecting me to post, and they're looking to see if I got the numbers. So that game has definitely changed.
Yeah,
But you've always been on
and
top
to
of
point,
you've always started to interrupt, but you've always been on top of that social. As best as you can, more than the average guy your age, for sure.
Yeah, I think
and you've always
altogether
understood.
across on my platform. Yeah, the importance.
I think
of it.
you
Again,
understand the importance. Maybe you're not great
part
at
of
it,
the
but
business tool. But
Yeah,
with that, I add a caution.
Mhm.
You are perceived incorrectly or correctly
Mhm.
by what you post.
Right.
So if you're a party person and you like to party,
no,
even though
no.
you're disciplined and you don't,
Yeah.
all these pictures of you chugging a bottle of Cristal,
Yeah, no.
smoking something,
hanging
with
out,
your friends,
trashy people or something.
it's
So what's
sort
your
of like-
advice there
so
to
I've been-
actors then? Are you just keep it professional? Don't
only post about or support other actors.
Right.
And I think that's another thing.
Yeah, or projects
How can
and
you
things, yeah.
You can't celebrate your own success unless you can celebrate
Yeah.
other people's success.
Nigel has been
And
great at that.
the inverse of that, you have to celebrate other people's success. So this is a vehicle for either sharing somebody's trailer that's just come out or a bit of voice
Good
that they
news,
put
somebody
out
did,
or casting from an agency that the casting director that maybe you work with a little bit. It's that kind of stuff. And
Nigel's
you know,
always
and
been
it-
very
and it's sort of-
positive about these things, and
I think you have to be.
Yeah, you do, because and you're a community guy. I recognize that right away, and by that I mean you build community, you like to maintain community, creating communities out of friends and people that you work with and things because.
Yeah. I'm not out to convince anybody, reform anybody, convert anybody to anything. I just want to, this is this wonderful tool. These platforms are wonderful tools to pass on information, data, images, whatever.
And support.
But you have to be really careful and support other people, of course, and your industry. And maybe if you want to get a little bit political with some issues from Screen Actors Guild or AFTRA or equity. I mean, stuff that's been going on just recently with the recent strikes. In the writers and actor strikes. These are also, but we're actors. We're not politicians.
Right.
You know, we're not. Let's not get too far.
No, I never.
You know, past.
I don't want anybody knowing what my politics are.
We're being paid to play.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And that's all it is. And don't be such a snob. You know. It just. And so altogether, I think I've got 75,000 across all my platforms. Whether or not anybody sees my stuff or not, I have no idea. But it doesn't really matter. It's. I sort of stopped doing Twitter because I don't like this X thing. You know, it sort of looks a little bit weird.
Thank you.
Although
Elon
it's a great
Musk.
platform, you have like
screwed it up for everybody. I don't get
146.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What are we supposed to do?
But it wasn't about everybody. It was about him. So, everybody wasn't involved with that. So I enjoy it, and I'm not. I don't look at my phone every 5 minutes. You know, I think I had set myself about 30 minutes in the evening, unless I have something going on. I probably don't touch it until. Because if it's that important, they're going to call me.
Is there anything you haven't done up to this point that you wish you could still do or would have loved to have done? Looking back.
I would love to do a long-term episodic,
right,
something like that, so I could really get rather than single episode or something like that. I just released a Netflix animation called Captain Laserhawk, and it was 6 episodes, and I voiced what happened. Ubisoft had given somebody carte blanche over all of their video games.
Right.
And he rewrote this 6-episode thing incorporating all the different iconic characters from all the different games. So I played Sam Fisher from Splinter Cell, which is a big big game, and sort of incorporated it into that. And that was great to get, but it was only voicing, so I didn't get to appear. So for me, and believe it or not, I'd love to do a Shakespeare piece.
Okay.
I would.
You never done
When's the
Shakespeare?
last time you've done Shakespeare?
I've done Shakespeare.
Yeah.
I did in Portugal. We had a theater group with Clive Dunn's wife, Priscilla Morgan, and we did Midsummer Night's Dream and Othello.
Nice.
And then a couple of what were there? Alan Ayckbourn's and a few other things. And it was great. I played. It wasn't Othello. What am I talking about?
Uh-oh, here we go.
Uh-oh.
Brain freeze. I played Demetrius in Midsummer Night's Dream, and I played what's that guy? Orsino.
Orsino in Twelfth Night.
In Twelfth Night.
That's
right. So those are the ones we did, and it was great. And we had some retired designers from the West End living on the Algarve expats.
Oh, how cool.
And they all came together, and it was an international cast, and we got to go into this wonderful theater called the Mini La Scala in Faro, and it was like all beautiful, and it was great. And that sort of got the bug back.
Yeah.
And so that sort of helped me a little bit come back into
your time
the
on the
industry.
Algarve now, first of all, I'm super jealous. My time was in Prague, but I think I would have preferred it to be in the best beaches in Europe, probably, in the sunshine and stuff. You did have a little wobble. Can I talk about that real quick? Because I know you avoid the
about
pub.
Anything you like.
All right, Nigel avoids the pub like it's made of COVID. Like it's just built and like it's the plague. So you had a little bit of a period.
Not a little bit. I'm an alcoholic. And,
You're an alcoholic,
and it was, and it was, alcohol is not my friend. No. And as much as I kept hoping it would be, if I got it, if I kept practicing,
right.
If
I just get this right,
it would respect me more. You know,
That's
maybe
funny.
if I mix
just gotta get the
tequila
hang of
and
this.
beer, maybe if I, maybe if I only drink white spirits.
Well, you did say you're not a quitter. You don't quit
kind
anything.
of
So.
Oh boy, I was determined. What it was basically retiring in southern Portugal in this beautiful quinta that I built that with the 3,000 square meters of formal garden and orchards and I was just becoming brain dead.
You were
and
getting
the
on
only
your motorcycle. I remember. Sorry, you said you.
And that was the only time that I
Wasn't drinking?
Yeah, that was the only time that I didn't drink when I was on two wheels.
Yeah. I remember getting you
so
said,
I was working in the garden.
Riding your motorcycle down, having coffees in the morning, and just the life of Riley, and then drinking in the afternoons. Was it wine and?
Yeah, it's going back back to the house, 12 o'clock, and after a jog or going to the gym or whatever, and do a couple of laps in the pool, and then say I've done my day, and I'm going to go play in the garden. And pretty soon you realize that bottle turns into two, and then there's going to be dinner and maybe a cocktail before, and it's just this expat lifestyle that everybody thinks is so wonderful. But unless you have a reason to exist, unless there's some little bit of a I got to go do this, you know, and it's so I decided that it wasn't very good for me. I was never a angry, a mean, aggressive person when I was drinking. I was always a funny guy. I was always having a great time. I never missed jobs. But you know, I would go and empty the trash one day and find there's 12 bottles of really good bottles of wine in there, you know, and that's another fallacy too, you know. If you drink really good wine,
then you're not an alcoholic. You know? You're a connoisseur.
No. Yeah. So anything like Ripple or Thunderbird, you know,
then you're a bum. Yeah, you're an alcoholic bum.
Then you're a bum, you know. But if you're drinking some really good Lafite or something like that, or maybe a cheeky little Merlot, then it's cool. And it wasn't, and it's just not for me.
So how'd you pull yourself
not to do that
out of that situation? You got yourself into rehab.
Stopped.
Just to stop.
I stopped.
Did you do AA?
Just stopped.
Oh,
no.
Just stopped.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, you had to do AA.
No. I went to meetings. I went to meetings. I was in meetings in Beverly Hills.
Oh, early days. Huh?
And
good networking.
I don't need
good
this.
networking at those AA meetings.
Bunch of drunks in here, you know. What am I doing in here?
Yeah,
you know? It's one of those things. So it's lots of denying and because of the old, you know, misnomer about, well, if you're an alcoholic, you're a bum. If you're an alcoholic, you're a bad person. If you're an alcoholic, you've destroyed your family's life, and you have no guts, no stamina, no willpower. You're weak, you know.
Right.
And it's all wrong. Some people can handle the chemicals that go on inside the body, and other people can't. And I don't have any problems with that.
You were functional.
Sometimes, you know, when I have a problem, I'll tell you when I have a problem.
You can't get it.
I mentioned this earlier.
No.
When I don't like going into bars, because we used to have this great workshop that you and I went to, and after
we all went
the
to
workshop,
the pub afterward.
We all went to the pub.
Yeah.
And Nigel never went to the pub.
No,
because
Nigel disappeared.
Nigel just went off into the tube network.
Yeah,
you know?
just
I
disappeared
was
into the...
not rudely.
No. Just became known
it's just
that
like
you weren't coming to the pub.
I don't like drunk people.
Mm.
And after one beer is okay and everybody's cool, but we start getting into a little excess, not drinking, it's really hard to deal with it when everybody loves you and can't believe, you know, that
Come here, buddy.
Process.
Nigel.
Oh,
give me a kiss, man. And you're just like, you're sitting there sipping your sparkling water, and you're like,
whatever. That's what it was, it was sparkling water.
Yeah.
I played around with alcohol-free beer, but it just gave me wind. So, you know, it wasn't, it's like taking a shower with a raincoat on. Why bother?
Try new alcohol-free beer.
It doesn't work.
Gives you wind.
Yeah. So it gives you wind. So that was just my process. So I've sort of let it go, but I have respect for it.
Yeah, because what I know about you when I met you, I think going by your timeline, I must have been here even a few months before you. I arrived in 2010, at the end of 2010. Or February 2011, February actually. So, but you hit the ground
by about 8-9 months.
Yeah, before you, you hit the ground running, and you were not like, you didn't let anything hold you back. Nobody was going to stop you.
But Todd, come on, I had a lot of money in my bank account.
Yeah,
my son was at uni.
Yeah,
my ex-wife was taken care of.
Right.
So it was just me. It was selfish time. And it's all I did.
Yeah.
I got up in the morning I had a great little house in Pinner, which is just about 20 minutes out of London on the Met line. And I got up in the morning. I went to the gym. I did other things, jogged, whatever it is. Maybe took the bike out if I wasn't going to work. But if I was working, I belonged to the gym down at Covent Garden. So, for example, in 2012, I was cast in the original Bodyguard with Heather Headley.
I remember. On stage, you mean in the West End?
And I was
the production in West End.
On stage in the West End for a whole year.
I remember that.
And
I remember when you were doing
470 because I was also Thursday afternoons. I was also going to Nate's class with you.
Yeah.
And that was what I used to do then is I would get up, I would go into town, I would go to the gym, I would have my dinner, and then I would be in theater for call.
Right.
When it finished at 10:30 at night or whatever.
Fit to carry her every night, right? You did the Kevin Costner role.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't.
What did you do?
The
producer.
I did 14 cover roles.
Oh, that's right. You were the cover man. You were all over the place.
So I not only had my own swing tracks, they're called.
Right.
But I also had 14 other characters.
Wow,
that I had to cover.
So, man.
Because of my age, but still had a youthful appearance then.
You were.
I was able to do a lot of different things. And because of the discipline, and I was just on and on. And because my contract was every time I went on for somebody else, I got more money.
Right.
And so it worked out great. And at the beginning, they said, everyone's taking a holiday 3 weeks. We will not, pay in lieu of. You have to take it. And when my time came around, they said, "Oh, please, Nigel, don't leave. We need you." So it was better. So I did the whole year in the West End, and it was absolutely brilliant. And you learn a lot. You learn a lot about people's personalities and dealing in a close environment and seeing somebody every day. You also learn about that freshness. How do you do 417 shows? I just finished a tour now. Wow. It was 176.
Jesus.
Okay, it was 16 different venues over 9 months or whatever.
What do you think of that, Jay?
And you just deal with one performance at a time.
Yeah, Jay shaking
just today. Just like not drinking. Just today.
Yeah.
Just today.
Yeah.
I'm going in and doing this show.
Time. Yeah.
And it's like fresh.
Performances.
Yeah, it was fresh. Well, it was great. And it was a great show.
Would you say that
it was a great show?
So, just to put a cap on the alcoholism,
the booze stuff,
the booze, and coming back into the game, because it may be helpful for people anyway. The kind of, you talked about, the agenda was then to just go head down straight and go for it. Was that part of it? Like, I'm putting everything behind me. This is what I want to do.
That was all. That was all there was. This is what I want to do.
This is all I want. Yeah.
And the process for me was more important than the end result.
Yeah.
It was because
just to be good at it, just to be great at it.
Better. Work at it. Just be in process. You never reach the end of anything.
Yeah.
You're constantly in process.
Yeah.
And there's no better. This is different, but there's no bad and good. It's like process.
Yeah.
And it's using your demons, but not having them use you.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
The whole process of acting is we all, each and every human being feels the full range of emotion. Hate, love, desire, friendship, whatever it is. It's what triggers those feelings, separates us as people. So triggers are the separation between me and the character that I'm going to do. If I know that, let's say, 4 out of the 5 emotions are the same thing, I'm just Nigel. It's that one thing that I wouldn't do is what I would work on. But nowadays, it's just, honesty. Tell the story. What's the story about?
Yeah.
What's your intention? Don't play the dots, and be real. Be really real, And that's what I think we want. And that's what the level of acting has gotten to now. We're watching even low-end soaps here that it looks
right.
These guys are really into it. They're really getting into it.
They're not playing acting.
And I think that's really important. We're not acting anymore. Stick to high school musicals if you want to do that. And there's nothing wrong with that.
We're playing
musicals are great. I've done a lot of them, and I love them. Now my voice has changed, and my ability to, do backflips has gone away. So
well, I remember.
Yeah, that was Xanadu. I did the world premiere of Xanadu.
And
the Southern.
Yeah,
and he was going to be on roller skates, but you didn't come out on roller skates till the end. Everybody else was on roller skates.
No, well,
was that a liability thing because you were too old?
Or at least you got on them.
I ended up breaking a rib in rehearsals at the Dance Addict when they first brought the roller skates out, and I was doing my LA bullshit. Excuse me again. And ended up falling and smashing my ribs against the ballet bar that was there and broke it. And you know what those things are made out of.
No, that hurts.
So they said, Nigel, maybe because of your role and because you're playing the Gene Kelly role, and you're also then you do this thing at the end when all the gods come down from Olympus, so I was playing Zeus, there was only at the tag that for the call that I came out wobbling on
skates
8 wheels.
I think you were holding hands with everybody,
I was like, because the footprint, it was like that big, and we had to do it was like tabletop dancing,
it was
right?
Tiny stage. It was a preview to see if it was going to get to they wanted to take it to the West End, but they did it. They opened it in Southwark. It didn't go very far, did it?
Yeah, they opened it. It was David E. and it was packed. I mean, it had some great following,
great reviews,
but but not to invest
ready for the West
£7 million. No.
Well, I was disappointed that I didn't see you on roller skates that time. So you listen. I wanted to say this.
I would be too.
I think you seem really happy, man. You seem like you're in a really good place. Not that you weren't more happy when I met you, but at this point, like I'm seeing a softer, just more content version.
Yeah, I think Paul Newman said it right when he said, I wake up in the morning and 95% of my day is great. You sort of you'll notice this. You and Jay will notice this, and Andrew will notice this later on. But your friends start dying.
Yeah,
and it sort of makes you question your priorities.
Yeah.
And what's really
they're getting sick and they're dying.
Important
as you get older.
Yeah. And you have more and more.
What's important to you?
To be kind.
Nice.
It's that easy.
Jay, do you hear that?
Kindness.
I do. Walk your walk and do no harm.
Yeah.
Nigel.
Yeah, he's taking notes.
And that's it, basically. No, and
do
commit,
you feel
the walk? Go on.
Do you feel like you've achieved everything you wanted to achieve, career-wise, life-wise?
That was sort of. I might as well sort of pull the plug now. I've still got another.
I was gonna say.
My mother was 104.
Was she?
My mother was 104 when she passed, and so I think if I've got some of those genes in there, then I'm sort of focusing
30 years in you.
100.
Yeah.
So I've got another minimum of another 27. The downside of that is, of course, you have to pay for it.
Is your diet good?
Yeah.
You're eating right?
Yeah. I don't eat anything that I don't want to become. So
yeah.
You have to have a little something here and there. You're making something like you're doing a carbonara and you want to put a little bit of bacon in it.
No, well, bacon's fine. I just mean processed food and heavy sugars and things. But you've always been in great shape. You look great.
Yeah. Wow. Well, you know what Billy Crystal said? It's better to look good than to feel good.
Better to look. Yeah, that's a Saturday Night Live character.
Is that
better
right?
to look good than
that's what he said.
As a character in Saturday Night Live, Billy Crystal.
As a character, yeah.
You look marvelous. Was it you?
You look marvelous.
You look marvelous.
Yeah.
And
that was the character.
These guys?
No.
Those were the Wild and Crazy guys.
You look marvelous.
That was Steve Martin and
Dan Aykroyd. Two wild and crazy guys. They played Czechoslovak guys. Two wild and crazy guys. I think we need
to have to go back on some of the SNL. You have to go back on some of those ones. They were better than when Belushi was still around and Radner. And
isn't Nigel
like
a footprint of
just
history? Doesn't he just doesn't he just? I love it because I grew up in the 70s as a kid. Yeah, he's old. I'm calling him exactly what he is, which is old.
You can't look what's happened in our world. Not only entertainment, music scene, politics, technology, from 1950 until today.
Yeah, it's a
nuts,
massive.
That is nuts.
And they always say, you know,
internet.
Science every 5 years is sort of doubles and doubles and doubles.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. So the
internet was 1990, right?
Yeah.
So
that's a massive already ground shift.
It's a lot of stuff.
1995, I think. Yeah.
And now I'm walking around. You take advantage that, you know, your laptop takes 4.3 seconds to boot, and you're going, come on, I haven't got all day.
Right. Like it did to get this podcast off the ground. It was
no, this was fun, man. I'm looking at all this stuff, and I'm going, whoa.
I think we need to have Nigel back at some point. What do you think, Jay? To carry on.
I mean, absolutely, please.
We can
There's
talk about
so
all
much
sorts
to
of stuff.
talk about.
Well,
we can talk about all sorts of stuff. So as far as my career, we asked me, you know, if there was anybody memorable that I've worked with. I really enjoyed working with Alec Baldwin.
Yeah.
He was
he was in your Reum.
Mission Impossible. Yeah, I did Mission Impossible, Rogue Nation. TC was great. Tom Cruise was absolutely wonderful, but I didn't have a scene with him.
Right.
But a very, very nice
Alec's
man
a pro.
and generous.
What did you like about Alec Baldwin? Why do you say
We
that?
just had a connection. He knew that I had been living in Portugal for many years, and his recent wife at that time was Spanish, and he was talking about, God, I just love to be able to move to Spain and just live there with my troupe. You know, he's got a lot of kids now, his people. And I said, Alex, you could move anywhere in the world. He said, nope. He said, you got to be there. You got to be where it's happening. Because out of sight, out of mind, you got to be there. You know, and it's sort of interesting. And we started talking about that, and I used to do physical work, you know, body manipulation and stuff, and he had a bad back, and so I was in between shots. I was doing a little bit with
Alec
him.
Baldwin's back? That's a whole nother story.
There you go. Yeah. But it was great. It was great. Him, I enjoyed. David Tennant, absolutely incredible talent. The guy I thought he was ad-libbing all the time. It was so easy, but it was like word perfect from the script.
Right.
I mean, just good stuff.
Good
stuff. I'd like working with everybody. There's nobody that and the people that I've got to meet and talk to. And
as we wrap it up here, I'll say that if you're listening to this, take a page from Nigel's book, because to me, this is the quintessential non-celebrity actor, you know, not a name that you're going to know, but you'll see him. I was watching Rogue Nation and you popped up and said, hey, it's Nigel. That's great. But this is how to build a life. To me, it's an example of how to build your life as a professional actor, make it work, enjoy the hell out of it, and and feel good about what you've done with yourself and never look back.
Yeah, and that's it. And like right now, I'm shooting a horror, so that's fun.
Horror.
I've
I just
done a
want to
couple
clarify.
of really nice
Nice.
horror. I've got.
He's not shooting a horror.
No,
love doing video game voicing. I love that.
Yeah.
And I've just booked a new film that I'm shooting with. I can't tell you the name of it or what it's about, but it's.
Ooh.
But it's with Russell Crowe and Rami Malek and Michael Shannon.
And people can look at it.
We'll have to get you on after you film that so we can. I want to hear about that.
Tell you about that. It's an interesting piece, and that again came from a self-tape, campers. So please,
campers.
There's something about a self-tape that you have a little bit more control of when you're going into. For example, when I was cast in Spectre in Bond film, I had an appointment to meet with Debbie McWilliams at Eon in their production office by Greens Park, and I talked with her for like 45 minutes, and we didn't have an audition. We didn't have I didn't have a script to read, and I said we were talking about everything. She had a leg problem. We were talking about maybe she needs some orthotics, and we were just talking about all sorts of things. And I said, "Do you want me to do something for you?" And she said, "No, that's fine, thank you." you know, and I got cast, and it was like,
Wow.
here's like the most iconic casting director in the world. What does she cast? Like 16 Bond films, you know?
That's amazing.
And it's just, and it was like going in and talking to your great aunt or something, you know?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so
good
they
vibe.
want it, they want to know
People.
who you are.
Real people.
They want to know who Nigel Barber is. They don't want to know this person that I'm trying to project on them. So my advice is always be yourself.
Nice.
Now, the older you get, you have more self to be. But even when you're younger, always be yourself. Because if you don't get the role because you've decided to do, you know, well, actually, I like this, then you're going to hate yourself for doing something cheesy. If you don't get the role because of you were you, then at least you were you, and they didn't want you. They wanted a different
Somebody
look,
else.
higher, shorter, somebody else, you know?
And truly they didn't, it was not for you.
Yeah, maybe they're casting you against another person and you look too similar to him, or you're too young to be his dad, or because you never get the full breakdown. You go in there and you play. The audition is an opportunity for you to play. Once you get that script and a director, your play zone is diminished. The audition platform is for you to bring something in.
Yeah.
You know, and there's a lot of really nice little things that come up on social media, blog sites you can get into, and it's just about this concept of
play.
You know, other than just quotes from De Niro saying, "Learn your lines." You know.
Right.
Stuff like that. What is Ray Winston's greatest piece of advice? Never pass up the opportunity to use the toilet.
Yeah. Tom Cruise.
And that was
hang
his
up your costume.
That was his hang up. That's right. That was another quote. You remembered.
Yeah.
My goodness. Yeah. Don't drop stuff on the floor for your wardrobe, people.
Yeah. Don't touch the electrical cables.
but
Those guys are union. Yeah.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But there's
don't
plenty.
touch anything.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So I love it. I don't think we really talked about much today at all, but I
think
love
we
the
did.
opportunity to
I think
get
we
back
did.
with you.
I'm going to give you a little clap
we
there.
did.
Bravo. That was Nigel Barber, ladies and gentlemen. Amazing. Amazing.
Thank you.
Let's
Thanks
have you
very
back.
much.
We'll have you back.
I'd love this. I'd love it. Thanks very, very much. And talk about
Thank
maybe,
you.
I don't know, really up to you. But I really enjoyed my time, and thanks very much, Todd and Jay. Thank you. And Andrew off there someplace in Technoland.
Yeah, Andrew's out there, but you don't need to thank
wherever
him. Don't worry.
Okay. Never mind. Take that
Just
back.
Andrew.
He says hi from beyond.
He says hi from
Thank you so
behind
very
his
much.
computer.
And it
Thank
was
you, buddy.
A
Appreciate it.
joy for me, and
I'll call
catch
you
on the running
later,
side.
and we'll do a postmortem on it. But for now, thanks so much. That's Nigel
Thank
Barber.
you.
Say goodbye, Nigel. Thanks, buddy.
Go well.
Cheers. Cheers.
Wow.
What do you think, Jay?
Oh my gosh, my brain is full. That was just like a wisdom bomb. I don't even know.
It was.
Yeah. Oh,
He's gone.
I'm hearing a Nigel back in my ear.
Yeah, no, he's gone.
Oh, okay.
Andrew will see him out to the door. I should have told him.
Andrew will see him. No,
See,
but
Andrew will
it was
see
a
you to the door.
wisdom.
Yeah.
That was a wisdom bomb. It's yeah. It was I think one cool thing is just it's like so cool to hear about someone who like because we're talking to him about acting, but he spent his time talking about his life, and it's like a reminder that like an actor is a human
Yeah.
with life.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and we're talking about, a business,
Right.
which is, but like, and that's, he learned to like treat it as such, but like, we have lives,
Right.
and everyone is on their own journey and life journey. And that's just a reminder that all actors, professional,
people.
how successful they are, they all
Yeah.
have lives.
Yeah. 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 That's kind of, been the whole point of putting all this together, and we will continue with this kind of theme. But yeah, I mean, pick your biggest celebrity, your biggest name, and you see that they work as an actor the same as Nigel does. And they'll work with someone like a Nigel, and everybody's just trying to do their job and do it well and get by. And some people have had a little bit more success than others, but ultimately, yeah, there's a journey involved that gets you there, and maybe you take a break, maybe you come back, maybe you have some good luck, some bad luck, but ultimately, yeah, actors are people too. And I think that's the message I want everybody to know. Hey, we're just people like you. I mean, we're special and we're highly talented.
We're special
We're
and
special
talented
people,
and beautiful.
obviously. But we are
But
still
we're
people. We're a
also
special kind of people. We're great. We're great. Actors are great. I love
I
acting.
really liked walk your walk and do no harm. I have to come back. I have to come back.
Oh,
to this.
he's
I
a
wrote that
wealth
down. I'll
of
remember
wisdom
that.
and stuff. I mean, like I used to call
Let's go on show
him. It's
notes.
been a while now, but I used to call him. I say on the weekly almost, and go, "Oh, Nigel."
Really?
And I would say stuff like, "Oh man, I really messed up on the set, or I really messed up on a casting, or I think I blew this or that, or mostly anxiety, like my personal anxieties and stuff. Or, what do you think? Should I switch agent, or should I try? I got a big casting coming up, et cetera, et cetera. Almost everything I had that kind of stressed me about the business, I would call him on the regular. And then he'd get on the phone with me, and while I was walking to the casting, he would like talk me down off the ledge, essentially, and go, dude, just be yourself, be your truth, and walk your, what did he say? Walk your walk and talk your talk.
Walk your walk and do no harm.
And do no harm and go in, and he's the epitome of that. It's a real thing with him. I have studied that process because I'm a bitter, freakish little twisted little man in a lot of ways, and I don't like people and don't care. But he does, and he's more successful than I am. So I take and I steal, and I go, how does he like people? And then I go, I pretend to like people the way he does.
You pretend. I tried to, I was thinking during this while he was talking, I was like, you seem to have this lovely perspective. How did that, have you always had it? I kind of wanted to ask him that, but it felt like we eventually got answered because we learned more about his,
think so.
But
you're right. Was it something
like
that he started with, or because, he did have a troubled background a bit, childhood and stuff, just childhood divorce and living with his mom and this and that.
Yeah, and moving around
a lot.
Kid. That's not easy.
You getting sort of neglected, let's say. So, certainly it was at what point, and maybe that's a question we missed, but, at what point did you click into that and just say, you know what? I think saying yes was the critical thing. And I learned that myself a long time ago. You've learned, I know you took improv and stuff. That's why I love improv, because it's about saying yes, yes-anding your way through life. Yeah. Yes. And he learned that. Actors in general learn that. So that's also great advice for any actor. You need to learn to say yes. And that's come up over and over again in every successful actor I've ever known, or happy actor. But when by successful, I mean content and happy, has a say yes attitude.
That is, I'm thinking about times like during, on projects I've had trouble. It's always been trouble saying yes, or sometimes, when someone tells you something and you don't agree with it, or like something's wrong, inside you're feeling no. So learning to say yes, isn't necessarily easy, but like but
it's more about saying yes to the opportunity. It's even saying yes to the fact that you disagree, but you agree with the fact that you disagree. That's what you're saying yes to. Like, it's okay for us to disagree right now. That's a yes. It's okay for me to say yes, that I understand, that I don't want to do this opportunity. I don't want to take advantage of it. Something about it, doesn't sit right with me, but I'm okay with that. Yeah. So there's a lot of ways. I don't want to make it like you just have to. Hey, come back to my hotel room, and you go, yes, I guess.
Yes.
The advice was to say yes.
Yes.
No, it's more about saying yes to the opportunity, and to the experience of it. So, like, he gave an example. Maybe it's a student film, or it's a low budget project, but you kind of like the people, and you kind of want to do something. And rather than just complain about, well, I can't work for free, like he said, it's more like,
this is enough money, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, let me say yes. Let me get, because there's other benefits there. waiting for you. And it comes in the form of contacts and community and friends and experience, you know. So saying yes to those experiences, yeah. Okay,
Wow.
buddy.
Well, what a show.
What a show. What a show. Nigel was great. We want to thank him again. I'm not gonna bother you with your last name right now. We'll save that for another time.
Oh yeah,
we're
that's another
exhausted. But I don't even know how long we went. That might even have to be a two-parter because that was
Indeed,
massive,
indeed.
a
But
massive
you know
program.
what? Worth.
All right, let's say goodbye. We'll send everybody out with our theme song. Boom. Everybody loves the theme song. Thanking
Is this the time where we
Andrew,
say like and subscribe?
the tech guy. I got 25 seconds to do this. Yeah, like and subscribe. Watch the podcast. If you like the podcast, saying thank you to Andrew, all his help and support, putting this all together. Thank you to Jay. And of course, thank you, Nigel Barber.
Thank you to
We
you.
loved having
to
you.
Todd.
Well, we'll see you next time on the Offstage Acting Podcast. Okay, there he is, the great Nigel Barber. Did you learn a thing or two about a thing or two? I know I did. Nigel's a great guy, isn't he? A wealth of knowledge and experience and just a great attitude. You feel good and you feel better about yourself and your career after talking to Nigel. I'm sure we'll have him back again someday soon. Or look out for Nigel. He's out there in the world. You can see him. If you didn't get enough of him here on the podcast, you can see him out there. Look him up, IMDb. You'll find him. Until next time, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again on the Offstage Acting Podcast.